ask a question. So at this stage in the career, 20 plus years, you've
21
been on
this
the trip.
year, 21 this month, as a matter of fact.
21 this month.
This month, yeah.
You've been on the trips. You made the money. You've had the lifestyle. You've experienced what it is. You built the book. Got the renewals. What keeps you motivated now?
Like I said, I guess this is part about the evolving and changing yourself. Because again, I still worksite. It's in my blood. I don't do it as much, but it's still in my back pocket. It's not uncommon for my phone to ring or get an email or get a text message from a longtime client or a client who's referred to somebody. Hey, Gerald, I need this and that, or one of the groups that Kareem and I take care of. But this new, like I said, now helping business owners from the PE perspective, let's look at the part that nobody's really addressing and looking at, especially with the changing dynamics of the way the work cycle and COVID really helped sped this up, changing today. And then, like I said, the IUL, we're talking about tax-free, showing people how to do tax-free income and then create generational wealth. That came about with my granddaughter when I just did that for her. And like I said, when I'm going down the line, okay, she's going this, that age, and I saw 48, $1.2 million. I'm like, damn, we just created generational wealth.
You missing something.
Right. And it's like, okay, so that's something new. And I'm still, I know a pretty good amount, but I'm a learning junkie. I love learning stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, don't be surprised when I call you just to pick your brain too. So, and I've already
said vice versa. I'm like you. I'm calling people, like I'm calling Kareem, hey, what can you tell me about this?
Yeah, and exactly. And then, I said, in my colonial time, if I got to back up one little thing, when Kareem told about the story about he called him Bobby Blake in California.
Yes.
When we lost in the midst of my colonial days, doing good, we lost Detroit Public Schools. New emergency manager come in, he kick everybody out, bring in all his buddies with no bid contracts. So now all of a sudden, I probably lost about $150,000, $175,000 because that's where most of my money's coming from. And then I'm newly married, and my wife looked at me. And she just retired. What we gonna do now? I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. And I dabbled a little bit in trying to do the retirement. I lived off a couple of months because I was able to go back to the people I knew. But it, like they say, a shirt that you put on just didn't feel right. Like a suit you bought off the rack versus your tailor-made. It just didn't fit right. And so my buddy in California, I had already told him the story because the way the stuff happened was all messy. And I called him kind of crying on his shoulder. And then he called me 2 weeks later. He said, Gerald, he said, how'd you like to come to California? I said, well, I've been meaning to come out there and visit y'all. He said, no, I ain't talking about to visit. He said, how would you like to be over to come out here and work? He said, we need a public sector manager to oversee the service with the Los Angeles County School District, which, by the way, is the #2 school district in the country, barely behind New York. They had, it was like 3,800 schools. And we thought we were in heaven in Detroit. We had 300. We just, like I said, we in Detroit, we thought we was in this bill called the High Cotton. We had 300 schools. Shit, I got that much on one block. And they wanted me to come out and I was the head over there. What? So, like the Beverly Hills, loaded up the truck and I moved to Beverly. And I headed out there.
Sound like you was getting some overrides.
And I was out there for almost 4 years, but it was great because a lot of the guys I knew from, we would meet up on the annual trips. But now I'm working with these guys and I'm their managers. And at one time we used to pick their brain about how you guys doing this, And my office was right on Long Beach Boulevard. I'm looking right at the Pacific Ocean. The Grand Prix that annually comes to Long Beach, my office, we look right down on the whole Grand Prix. We get invited to red carpet things and the people out there treated me like gold. I could not have asked for complete strangers to take me in the way they did. And unfortunately, my wife's mother was in her 90s at the time, and her health was, and my wife was like, we need to go back to it. I said, well, baby, you got 7 brothers and sisters. Can't they take care of mama? I could have won the battle and lost the war ride, but I came back kicking and screaming. But that was a wonderful, I rate that as one of the greatest adventures. First of all, just driving for 3.5 days to California. One thing I never do is go through the mountains in Colorado ever again. I was approaching the mountains and I'm up here, my wife called me every minute to check in. I'm like, baby, you don't see these mountains? They all pretty, man. Look at God. I've seen the snow cap. I'm trying to drive and take pictures and da-da-da. Then I got my ass up in the mouse. Oh, Rod, Jesus. I'm talking about these things got an incline. I don't even know, that might have been 45 degrees. Wow. And it's snow and ice on the road. I got my foot on the brakes. The car is still going 75 down. Then you got to turn at the bottom. This thing has what they call escape ramps, where off the road, it's a steep incline. Like if a truck is a runaway truck, it hits this hill, so gravity will take over and keep it from, stop. That's how I would stop it. And I'm seeing this, and I'm like, wow. What the hell? And I just knew, okay, man, coast out. And I'm just, Lord, you know that if the guy get drunk and you say, I'll never do this again, that's like, Lord, if you just let me get I will never come back up here again. And then I parked at the motel for the night, and I asked the girl, I said, how many more miles, how many more hours I'll be through? I hope she said half an hour. She said about another 4 hours. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, here we go again. So, but once I got out, then we got the desert of Nevada, then I hit California. So that was before, then I came back, and that was when I expanded, became the broker with in the industry.
Love it, love it, love it. Hey, Gerald, you got some amazing stories, about your career. No,
I can't make this up, Rob.
I'm loving this conversation. I got a couple more questions for you.
Sure. Okay.
First, how do you think, if in any way, having a license, working in this industry has changed you as a person?
Ooh, good question. I don't think too much it changes a person, because, okay, a good buddy of mine who's in Texas, who our mothers were friends before we were born. So I can say I've known him 60 plus years. The person you see now, this is still my personality, but the insurance industry allowed me to really cultivate and let me fully blossom, if you could use that word. Because corporate, you still got them, they want a little of your talents. I admire your smarts, but Rod, don't get too smart, especially when you got people above your supervisors who insecure about themselves. I like you as a worker, but don't be too smart. I'm not above stealing your ideas. Take them to the president. Look what I did. Wife and I just saw a show on it last night. So there was that stuff, the backstabbing, hiding of paperwork, or they got a message for you to do something, and then you get in the manager's meeting. Gerald didn't tell me to do that. And I'm like, what? Yes, I did. And that taught me a good lesson when I learned about learning true meaning of CYA, cover your ass. Mm-hmm. I didn't do nothing. It didn't get on paper. You couldn't walk in my office no longer and say, Gerald, if you told me you needed an ink pen, write up a purchase order, date it, sign it. So if you come back, someone come in, and if it ain't right, or if you doing something, ain't got no business with something, you will never be able to track it back to me. Everything was either email or you must do it. So they taught me that about covering my behind, because I got bit too many times. I'm trying to be the nice, honest guy. I'm sweet, loving, huggy. Oh, they ain't gonna do is a different environment. Believe that if you want to, but it changed. I would say, like I said, it made me blossom, come out what I already was in me. Because, like I said, my parents, God bless their soul, mama registered, daddy everybody loved them, and inherited a lot from them. Then learning the spirit of servitude, taking care of people, because both of them were in the service industry. Yes. And one for another, my mother saving lives. She was an operating room nurse, and my daddy owned a gas station. That didn't sound glamorous, but I learned so much about the things of life. Because here I'm a 13-year-old kid. I'm listening to all these grown men. We got blacks, we got the Southerners, we got the hillbillies, the rednecks, we got the Latinos, the Italian guy, the Greek guy. I'm listening to all these grown men stories, and it's stuff going on my head. It sounded funny and stupid to me, but little did I know I was seeing myself in my own situation in the future about 10 years. And when that happened, I'm like, where have I seen this movie before? And I'm like, okay, this was on. So some things I learned what to do so that wouldn't happen to me. But again, a lot of that shaped me, but this allowed me to fully be myself, set my own schedule. I don't have to answer to nobody, my clients, of course, but, allow me to truly feel free and help people, get paid nicely for it, and do what I want to do the things, like I say, one of my major hobbies I like is traveling. So it affords me not only the time, but the money to be able to do it. So
there you go. So last question.
Okay.
What would you tell someone who is maybe new to the industry, maybe considering getting into the industry? Especially now. I think it's interesting what you mentioned at the beginning of the conversation and throughout, as far as, you know, the focus on financial education now and creating generational wealth. But, you know, for somebody who's entering the business brand new, getting started, or maybe they're on the fence, what would you tell them about entering this business, entering the financial services and insurance industry?
Maintain always a service heart. You got to do what's right for the people. It's not about, if you do treat the people right, the money gonna come. If you coming in here with the hustler mentality, you in the wrong game, bro. You will not last. The business will eat you up, because there's your days. There's nobody who's in this business who hasn't quit about 5 times. Okay. Bill used to laugh at me. I come in the office and, you know, you had a couple agents didn't do what you wanted to do. And it was like, man, I don't want to be no manager. Take these people back. I just want to run by myself, do my thing. I ain't got time. You know, he sat there and laughed at me. Then the next day, you know, stuff turned over. Okay, we back again. It's kind of like a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. You love them, the next day, like, I'm getting a divorce, man.
Those 5 times can happen in the same week sometimes.
Right, exactly. And but you must have a servant's heart to take care of people. That's for whether you doing voluntary, whether it's life only, whether you in final expense, if it's financial services. Now, one thing again that turned me off to financial service, I hope nobody takes this the wrong way. I used to look at from the voluntary side, like I said, we going to schools. I could meet a teacher, never seen them in my life. Sit down, explain the products in 10 minutes, give them a couple stories, make them laugh a little bit, show them some options. I'll take that one. Bam, write them up, 30, 35 minutes, you made $200, $300, $400. Do that 10 times, you done made a couple of grand. Financial services, I meet you, you got 50, 100,000. I ain't meeting you in no 15 minutes. You signing over. That's a whole nother, that is a courtship, bruh. Okay.
Yes.
So, but luckily, a lot of my clients I have now, my foundation is the teachers I used to take care of for voluntary. So the trust factor wall has been knocked down. It ain't even there. So I'm able to call them and say, hey, so-and-so, I know you got this that retirement thing. There's something out here better you need to do about. IRS tax code 7702, which they just ratified December 2020. They changed the tax law. You can put as much money as you want to. Only thing is you got to qualify. It's a life policy. But the benefits, I said, I can show you some illustrations, give you some information on that. You got 15, 20 minutes? Yeah, come on back. And they see it and it's like, whoa, when can I get that, Gerald? Bingo. Boom. So, boom. But again, that helps. And I'm gravitating and I'm paying for some programs and systems now that's going to get me to a whole nother level of net worth people. So I'm gonna still have to tweak my game a little bit and get used to, okay, Gerald, you don't know all of these people. It's a little different, but you're still in that, but doing that same thing. So my character and my intent is still going to be there. Not non-malicious, of course. Yeah, I want to make money, but I still want to help these people because these are people I'm coming to who, let me explain to a problem that you may have. You got this annuity, you haven't been making any money, blah, 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 blah. You about to retire, you got some taxes. There's some options you have to get you out of that situation so you can tax on the seed, not on the harvest, you know, and we can move you in a better position.
401ks right now, you know.
It's been, word has it that 401k is about to be extinct one day.
These 401ks, oh no, you know.
Yeah, because I got a client, she said, Gerald, in the first year I had 200,000. I checked my statement, I only got 149. And you putting in $300 a pay. I said, Ms. Jones, do that math make sense to you? You putting money in and you got less money than you had 9-10 months ago.
Think about it.
You don't need to be a Harvard professor, okay? You don't need a PhD from all the Ivy League schools.
Say the math ain't math.
Grasp that. So, like I said, but I would tell them to find one thing and stick with that one. Don't try to, it's like eating an elephant. Don't try to get in and think you're gonna do everything. It'll swallow you up.
Yeah. And
hope you, and if you can, have some money in reserve by 3 good months before you start. So you got to do that but that's why I had to hit the ground running. Because like I said, the situation I was in when I met Bill, I was on food. We ended up on food stamps. That was part of, because my wife disabled, I was laid off and we had the grandkids. And another thing that motivated me, this lady we had, this European lady we had at the office, the Social Security, was so mean. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be humble. I ain't never asked for nobody nothing in my life. I was not taught that way. So I didn't want to be here, but I'm yes, ma'am, and her, and yes, ma'am, and her. And she fill this out. Fill it up. Handed the paper, snatched the paper, and I was raised that, oh, that was something you don't do. Right. Everything in me was holding the back, damn, just jumping over that table, and you'd have saw me on the news, bro. You know, and that was my motivation when I got the job. I said, I got to make this money. When I get this certain amount of money, I can tell them, y'all can, you keep your food stamp. I don't need it no more, you know. So that was a motivating factor for me to get off of that, because I said, if not, I'm end up killing this lady. I'm gonna catch a case, you know. And we didn't want that to happen. So, but then, like I said, stuff started going good, and bam, it just took off from there. So,
absolutely. Hey, look, Mrs. Scruggs, thank you, sir. I appreciate the time. Please, you know, let the people know, you know, how can you know, individuals get in contact with you. I know you're out in Detroit, Michigan, and you know, I know folks can reach out to you pretty much from wherever they are.
Anywhere in the country. I got people in licenses and people all over the country. My office phone number is 248-562-6252. My cell phone number is 248-703-9186. My email is benefits, that's BENEFITS, solution, SOLUTION, singular, LLC @gmail.com. And that's benefits, plural, solution, singular, LLC @gmail.com.
There you go. And we got all your LinkedIn links and
oh yeah, and then that's on there. You can go find me on
LinkedIn. We'll have
LinkedIn.
it in the video, and it'll be on the podcast, and you know, the contact information will be on the screen. Yeah. I just want to say, you know, thank you again for the wisdom, for the knowledge, for the amazing stories, you know, in this conversation. It's been a pleasure. We've been mentioning Kareem throughout this interview. I'll be remiss if I don't give him a shout out. Kareem Cade, Great Lakes Benefits. You know, he was the bridge, you know, for you and I to get connected.
Yes.
And you know, I tell you, I love people from Detroit, man. What up, though? You know, y'all,
right.
You know,
with this cold weather, I'd rather have the warm weather. That's what I about California, man. I got to spend a Christmas there in my shorts and stuff in December. Because in fact, there's one last thing I mentioned. When that day my buddy called me, he said, "Well, we're gonna fly you out here, Gerald," and it was January the 15th. I never forget that. I left Detroit. It was either 10 degrees and 8 inches of snow, or 8 inches of snow and 10 degrees. I forgot which one, but it was cold. Plane, they had to get the ice off the plane so we could take off. I landed at 12 noon in Long Beach, stepped off the plane. It was 82 degrees, January 15th, blue skies. I thought I was in the Bahamas. Rod, I was like, where do I sign? Y'all ain't got to wine and dine me. I don't need to see nothing. You ain't got to bribe me with nothing. Where do I sign? So
hey, listen, I ain't gonna tell you that it's warm all the time, but I will tell you that there have been some 70-degree weather days this winter. I will tell you that.
As my grandmother said, oh hush.
I ain't saying this all the time. I'm not saying this all the time. Hey, but it's happening.
Yeah, more than here.
Hey, look, thank you so much.
Thank you, Roddy,
for the conversation, for the information, for the education, for the knowledge, and for those who are listening. Hopefully you've heard something that has inspired you, that's motivated you, that's moved you, made you think to yourself, you know, maybe wonder, question, tilt your head and think, you should get a license. Until the next time, take care.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.